I've been playing through some interesting RPGs recently. All of these I've never touched before, and the recent one was Monster Hunter World, and wow, a lot of people really enjoyed that video, almost as much as I enjoyed my playthrough. And funny enough, the next RPG that I ended up trying was Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen, another Capcom game, and I didn't know anything about this game, like at all, until the second one got announced, and I was like, oh, what is this? Another RPG on my radar? They got lion people, they got big ogres and cool looking combat, so I wanted to play the first one on stream. And once again, I am glad I did, because this is one of the most unique RPGs I've played in a while. Compared to Monster Hunter, which was pure love the whole time, this game whooped my ass in areas and it was hilarious, but I came out absolutely loving it and really glad that I went through this whole game. Now, you might think I'm talking about the combat when I say whooped my ass, but no, I have an issue when it comes to knowing where I'm going in games. I won't lie, I suck at it. So this game, like, you take one look at the map and it's like, what is going on here? I got lost in the hub, like the capital, around 30 times before I learned this thing. And then some quests in general, while you'll be able to find what you're doing, you're gonna have to search, you're gonna have to find things on your own, and you will never have your hand held. Am I mad about that though? Absolutely not. That, along with a few other mechanics like chucking goblins or NPCs off cliffs, are amazing, especially in this time where games are so filled with invisible walls and hand-holding and 90 objective markers to let you know this is exactly where we want you to go. It was really nice at the same time, even though I was getting my ass whooped. So I'm going to go through my first time experience through Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen, let some people know what this game's like if you've never played it before, or for those fans, you get to enjoy me just talk and gush about how much I enjoyed my experience. So Dragons Dogma takes place in a fictional high fantasy world that's actually kind of based on Sicily, and you get that when you look at the map. It's kind of why it's confusing. I'm not seeing very many Sicilian maps. So when you're going through this game, you are the Arisen. This big old dragon is going to eat your heart, and that signals that you are destined to slay him. And when the dragon comes around, it signals the end of days. So that's the general idea of the story, and then you're going to create your main character, the Arisen. The character creator is pretty in-depth, and I always don't take too long on these, because if I do, I will be here for 8 hours. But once you get into the game, you start creating your pawns, and your pawn is always going to be by your side. It's pretty much going to be like your party member, and then the two other pawns you're going to get is through a giant pool of either NPCs made by the game or generated by players. They made it themselves in the character creator, and you get to hire their pawns. It's really, really cool. The pawn that you create can never actually fully die, but these other ones, they could just go and croak if you don't save them, and then you got to go get new pawns. Most of the time, you're getting new pawns anyways because they're higher level or just better for the boss fight that you're going to do. So in this game, you're commanding these teammates a lot of the time, but you are doing the combat for yourself. You are not going to actually play as these characters. Then you are just thrown into this giant open world where you're supposed to go search around and quest. Now, this is a game where you want to talk to a lot of NPCs and kind of figure out what's going on, because the game is not really going to tell you all the time. My absolute favorite aspect, though, was the combat system. Surprise, surprise, my favorite aspect of a game is a combat system, but no, it's very unique here. Just the physics in themselves, like you could just run full sprint in this game, leap across a cliff and grab a hold onto something, and same goes for the enemies. I could pick up this goblin and throw him off the cliff if I want to, and that's really fun. Like, even if it doesn't do the most damage, if my goblin is on the ground and like he's almost dead, best believe I'm throwing him off the cliff instead of just finishing him off with the sword the boring way. Now, when it comes to building your character and what you're actually going to be using in battle, it looks very confusing at first. Like, there is a lot to it, because you could choose from a bunch of different classes. They call them vocations, and they really do different things. Like, if you choose a fighter, you have a shield and a sword, so you can't dodge around, but you could block things, you know, and you're very physical up in the enemy's face. But then you could go to a strider, and if you do a strider, you literally get like iframes for the type of dodge rule you get. You get daggers, and you could also pull back and use your archer. This extends to your pawns. Let's say you're using a warrior class, you have a giant great sword, you're a bit slower, you probably want to put a mage pawn in your party because you need some healing on your side, or in general they could buff your sword with some fire. I loved this system. The loop was constantly fun. You choose a class, you level it up, try to get it to max, and on the way there you're getting all these new skills that are just so much fun. Ways you could throw up your pawns into the air with your shields, just really cool sword or mage abilities. You know, every time you upgraded something, it was something new mechanic wise, and then when you'd move to the next vocation, it would increase towards your level. See, your player level is always going to keep increasing, but then your vocation ranks are separate. So let's say you get fighter to 10, that's going to add on some strength to your base character level. Then you go to mage, that's going to add some magic to your base character level, but you're still growing levels continuously. This is a fantastic system because it wants the player to try a bunch of different classes. It doesn't hold you back, and you're continuously progressing even when you change completely different weapons. So I've talked about how much I love the movement, how much I love the combat, and the general loop of what you're doing in the game, but let me get to one thing that kind of sucked through the entire playthrough and it never really got better. See, there's two issues when it comes to your stamina and healing. One, the spells don't do too much because you could pause the game and just heal with food all the time. So that was one issue. And then the other issue was your stamina. Your stamina is just too little. Even when you're light from having no items in your inventory, your stamina drains too fast, and too many times is my character just dry heaving because they're too tired. Even then, I couldn't stand how all the healing items and pretty much everything counted as weight. It just started to not be fun, you know? There's a time where mechanics like that could challenge the player and make you organize stuff, and it could be actually pretty fun. But with this, I never found it fun. It was constantly, let me go back to the hotel and dump everything into my box because I cannot run or ever have stamina. And then even then, I'm running out in this big open world with not much fast travel, and it's like, dude, give me more stamina to just run around. You have a really fun movement system here, why are you hindering me? And then this goes back to the health bar issue. You could say, well, it's there to challenge the player, you know, you don't want to infinitely run around or not have a stamina system. I get that, but then why could I pause the game and heal myself 1,000 times, like, no matter what, you know? It's just kind of unbalanced in my opinion, and it's like, where is the challenge? Like, where are you guys trying to force a challenge on us here? Especially because some of the endgame dungeons, I feel like the enemies and bosses are already decently challenging, especially if you put it on hard mode. So if you want my dead honest opinion, I would have ripped stamina out of this game. I would have done it maybe for when you're climbing enemies, but when you're just running around and stuff, the stamina system was never really fun. Oh, and speaking of climbing giant enemies, that was something that was really fun, and I haven't done in like any other game. You could climb on any boss in this game, or even smaller bosses, and smack them right in the eyeball. This was great because it gave you more damage. It would knock giant bosses down. It was really useful and always fun to try to get up onto their head. Now, to get on the little bit more negative side of the bosses and stuff, the only thing that really sucked with them was there wasn't enough of them. The variety wasn't too hot here. Like, how many times can you fight a Cyclops over and over again, or this Chimera? And then that extended to the open world. While it is most of the time fun exploring, finding new areas of your map and grabbing items, you're gonna start seeing these same enemies and mobs and bosses over and over, and that does get old until you get to Endgame and the Bitter Black Isle, which is the DLC, but it comes with the game if you get the Dark Arisen version. Now, the open world and world itself definitely has some good mystery. One funny little story I'm gonna tell here, while trying to leave out as much spoiler stuff as I possibly can. I thought I got to the final boss, and then when I beat it, thinking I beat the game, I was clapping on stream, my chat laughed at me and they're like, you thought that was the final boss? And then I got to the Everfall, and that was a crazy just ending in general. So that happened, which I thought was really fun. I haven't had a game troll me like that in a long time. Even if I wasn't there with my chat, that probably still would have trolled me. Now, as fun as the mystery was, again, as I said earlier in this video, the game drove me insane a few times. Like, I just did not know where to go. I don't have any teleporting stones that I could go to, and it was just rough. So it definitely can be annoying, and again, the stamina system always drove me insane. So I feel like those are more aged things. As you see with Dragons Dogma 2, they actually changed the whole health system. They make it so your total amount of HP starts to lower as you take damage continuously, so you can't just pause your game and infinitely heal. You have to go to a campsite or back to town. So, and they made you have a bunch more stamina. So they changed a bunch of things in the second game, showing that they didn't necessarily agree with all their ideas from the first game. But man, what this game does really good is player freedom. Like the fact that I could just pick up any NPC, throw throw them off a cliff is hilarious. I could pick up this goblin and throw him into another goblin. It's all great, and it gives a bunch of player choices, especially with your class system. Like if you want to have a giant greatsword, go do it. If you want to be a mage, go do it. And then the other ones that you still want to bring along but you can't use, let your pawns use them. So again, lots of player control, which I really appreciated. Even just running around the world and being able to jump and climb where you so please, those things are always fun. I even get annoyed these days if it's an action game, dude, or like an action RPG and there's no jump button. Looking at you, Final Fantasy VII Remake, I just rage, to be honest. But yeah, Dragons Dogma Dark Arisen was a very interesting RPG experience where most of the challenge came from very weird areas, like having to control the camera yourself and position your character, not from the actual bosses themselves, or from the map, just not understanding where the hell I'm supposed to be going next. But the mystery and journey along the way, figuring out what classes I want to use, gaining a whole bunch of new pawns that people all over the world have created. It was a very fun experience, and I haven't talked about the story much. It was kind of in the background for me, so my obnoxious brain kind of tuned it out after a while and focused on the gameplay. I loved the final boss section. Now, that was really cool. I thought that had some cool story moments, but yeah, I kind of focused on the open world and gameplay here. I kind of lost track of what was going on with the story, but I don't think Dragon's Dogma was prioritizing the story. It was more so the gameplay, and that's what I appreciated most. So yeah, this was an interesting experience for sure. I can't wait to get into the DLC. I started it up on stream, but have not finished it. That's more of the challenging content, so you know me, I'm gonna finish that up. I started Dragon's Dogma 2 a little bit ago, so this is so cool to me that I'm starting these new RPGs and just becoming a fan of so many of these series that I've never played before. Monster Hunter and this game are two games that I would have loved playing them as a kid, and I love now playing them for the first time. So it's really nice being able to share these experiences with you guys, with almost like a review in the future for some of these games. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my experience playing Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Let me know in the comments, have you never played this game before but you're interested in it? Do you have no desire to play it? Or are you just a huge fan of this game and you're happy to see someone like me now get into the series? So let me know, guys. I love seeing your comments. Thank you for watching my videos in general. Love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.